Hello.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first ever digital online virtual third Thursday from the San Jose Museum of Art. We've never done this before, so we're hoping it goes well. And welcome. We are very pleased to be here tonight. And this is, like I said, our first virtual third Thursday. There'll be another one next month, so we're getting going on this. And we're very happy once again to be working with our community to produce this event tonight. So we in San Jose always feel that where community is concerned, especially in the arts and culture space, we have an embarrassment of riches. We have wonderful partners that we work with regularly. And tonight we're going to be working once again, with Mosaic Silicon Valley. And we're delighted to have them here for our first virtual one, since if we really mess this up, we know they won't get too mad at us. They'll be very forgiving. I think in the last 3 months, I guess somebody told me today, it's been 100 days. Today is the 100th day since shelter in place. I cannot believe that's true, but I guess it is. I used to have a friend who was keeping track of the days for me. It was sort of like those obnoxious ads that tell you how many shopping days are left till Christmas. So I finally turned that off. But anyway, I guess today's the 100th day. And we've all had a lot of time now to reflect on the idea of community, I think, how important it is to us, what it means, and the value of it. So once again, that's why tonight we're so happy to be working with our partners and 4 wonderful artists that are all from our community here tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our host, Usha from Mosaic Silicon Valley, and take it away, Usha. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. And hello, everybody. I'm Usha Srinivasan from Mosaic Silicon Valley. And I thank you to the museum for continuing this collaboration with us on Third Thursdays. As Robin mentioned, this is our first virtual Third Thursday. And I have a feeling that this won't be the last time that you will see us in this mode. And I hope that even though it's virtual, the lineup we have for you will allow for an enriching experience. So again, welcome to Artists in Residence. A little bit about Mosaic Silicon Valley. Our mission is to help strengthen diverse communities like San Jose through the use of intercultural arts. And we do this by bringing together master artists, master American artists from very diverse traditions and cultures to come together, co-create and co-present works in a way that not only showcases our glorious diversity, but also helps us see the common ties that bind us all. So that's about Mosaic Silicon Valley. And today we have 4 master artists, like I mentioned, who are also culture bearers and ambassadors for their art. And what we're going to do is first let the artists take you into their space, into their studios. They've each prepared a video and they will give you a background on themselves, on what they've been up to during COVID. And then at the very end of it all, we will all come back and join them in conversation. So for now, I'm going to tee up Ray Furuta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ray Furuta. I am a concertizing solo flutist. Hello, everyone. My name is Ray Furuta. I am a concertizing solo flutist, professor of performance practice and community engagement for the music department at Santa Clara University, as well as a local artistic leader, entrepreneur, philanthropist, right here based in San Jose, California. And I'm coming to you live from my apartment in downtown San Jose. So with this program, I wanted to share a little bit about how my art has changed, but more so evolved during this COVID-19 pandemic. Like many artists, many musicians, a lot of my work was canceled. And, in the beginning of that, it was really heartbreaking. I I had quite a bit of really exciting things to look forward to. I was going to be going to Beirut, Lebanon, with 150 recorders to give to Syrian and Palestinian refugees and teach them a little bit about music while I was there. I was going to be spending my summer in Cairo at a new music academy, some concerts on the East Coast, premiering a new concerto with the Palo Alto Philharmonic, and all of these events were unfortunately canceled due to the pandemic. And while I was grieving a little bit at the beginning, I was able to sort of take a step back and reflect a little bit and figure out what was next for me, rather than spending all of my time mourning the loss of this work. I immediately it wasn't quite immediate, but I eventually jumped right into figuring out what's next. What am I going to do? How can I keep creating? How can I keep connecting to people with my art while I'm stuck here in my apartment? And, this time of reflection really allowed me to become more aware of what I want to do, what my priorities are as an artist and as a person, who I want to be playing for, what I want to be playing musically. So it was very important actually for me to experience this on a slightly positive note. And I've used this time to plan some projects that have been sort of in the works for a while, do some of that work. I recently started a new position as the music director for Mosaic Silicon Valley, and so I've been really grateful to have time to devote to Mosaic Silicon Valley and their mission, and I've started composing more and finding ways to connect musicians musically, even though we're all stuck in our homes, curating musical performances online. This kind of new, as I said, evolved version of life as a musician, and essentially trying to be as resilient as possible in order to keep my art alive and thriving. And it's not ideal, but it's been working somehow. And the only thing I really don't like, though, is teaching flute online. It's like horrible. But anyway, I want to take just a moment for you all and just improvise a little bit for you. And we'll probably dive in a little deeper on what's going on in our lives now during the actual discussion. So please enjoy. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Ray. That was spectacular as always. And now we're going to go to an artist whose practice looks quite different, but that's what makes this panel so interesting. So next up, we have Mitlalpilli, who is the co-founder and executive director of Calpulli Tonalehqueh, the Aztec dance and drum group right here in San Jose.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yei Mitlalpilli from San Jose, California, from the group Calpulli Tonalehqueh, Aztec dance community here based in San Jose. And just want to say it's an honor to be part of this program. Thank you, Usha, in Mosaic Silicon Valley, and San Jose Museum of Art for this opportunity. We're part of an Aztec dance group here in San Jose. I personally have been part of the community for the past 26 years here in San Jose, and I've had the pleasure of learning from some pretty good teachers. And just want to share a little bit about what we do, some of the instruments that we use, a little bit about our culture, and I'm sure many of you have seen Aztec dancers, so I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the other instruments that we use when we do our ceremonies, when we do our dance, our ceremonial dances. So first of all, I want to talk about a little bit of history. Here in San Jose, our Calpulli Tonalehqueh has hosted the largest Aztec New Year's here in the nation. So San Jose has become the largest gathering of Aztec dancers in the nation to celebrate the Mexica New Year, which actually happens in March during springtime, March 12th of every year, 11th or 12th of every year, depending if there's a leap year or not. And so we were doing a lot of planning, really looking forward to bringing our community together and celebrating our New Year, celebrating our springtime together. And we had got notice about a week in advance that, about the situation with COVID, with coronavirus. We got notification from the city of San Jose that there might be some restrictions, that about a week in advance, we were told that we'd only be able to have 1,000 people. And so the Monday before, we had to make a tough decision to cancel our agreement with the city of San Jose at Emerald Plush Park and to have a smaller event. So actually from the Monday before March 15th or 14th until the Friday before, the amount of people that could gather in an event went from 1,000 people down to 100 people. So we literally had to have a very small gathering with just the members of our Calpulli, with our local members and some special guests that actually had flew in already from outside of the country. We had some special guests, some of our teachers, our maestros coming from Mexico City, from Veracruz, from Arizona, and also we actually had some Aztec dancers that came and visited us from Philadelphia and Milwaukee that were already in town when this was all happening. So unfortunately we had to cancel our big gathering. Had a big impact on us. We were really looking forward in our culture. It's part of our culture to have a big gathering and celebration, to celebrate our culture. Like I said, it has become the largest gathering in the nation, and our group, our whole Calpulli, put a lot of work into preparing for it. And even to, damage control, to cancel a lot of things. It took a lot of work on behalf of our group. Not only that, but as I'm sure many other artists who have been affected by just events in general being canceled, we usually get a lot of invitations. Last year, for example, we did 60 different presentations and, a variety of family events, whether it be weddings, birthday parties, school presentations, graduation ceremonies, things like that. So that also had a huge effect on our activity as a group. And also our gatherings, our weekly classes, our weekly ceremonies had to be canceled because the location where we would be gathered, the School of Arts and Culture, also had to close due to the shelter in place. So now we're on our way, figuring our way. Things are starting to open up little by little, and we're able to find a way to communicate with each other through social media, through Zoom. We have Zoom meetings, and finding a way to also my clothing brand, Toshki Wear, to make money through e-commerce, to be able to sustain and pay the bills and be able to survive in this current economic situation. So anyways, I want to share a little bit about what we still can do and what we still have. We still have our traditions. We are in the year, this is our Aztec calendar, we're in the year here, Tekpat, which is this this symbol right here, which is also the symbol right here, and which is the symbol on this t-shirt here. Tekpat is a flint knife. It represents cutting, it represents analysis, it represents being sharp like a knife. Like our tongue needs to be sharp. We need to be, how they say the 4 agreements, be impeccable with our words. We need to be careful what we say, because what we say can hurt somebody, we can cut somebody. Also, we have to be very careful with our words. And we need to analyze and be sharp about everything that's going on around us. So this is the year that we're in. Very interesting that at the change of the signal that this COVID thing came and affected us. Just want to talk a little bit about some of the instruments that we have here. This is teponastli. We have some drums here. A larger huehue. We have a Calpulli, which is a seashell. You can see the detail, beautiful artwork that has been done on this. Calpulli. We have our rattles, alabastros, wind instruments. And we have our eagle whistle here as well. So our ancestors had over 500 different instruments. And luckily we're able to work with some of the maestros in Mexico City who were able to get access to some of the special collections in some of the museums. And they've been able to educate us on how to use and how to incorporate these instruments into the dances that we do. So thank you very much. We're looking forward to this panel discussion. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to share our culture with you all. Have a beautiful day. Omadeo.
Thank you, Mitlalpilli. That was wonderful. 500 instruments. It's just remarkable that you're able to keep this going and keep the traditions alive and play an important role in being an elder in the community. Next up, we have PC Muñoz. PC is a multi-talented, multidisciplinary musician, a recording artist, singer, percussionist, poet. He's just really an all-round remarkable musician, and we are delighted to bring him to you today. So PC Muñoz.
Hey everyone, my name is PC Muñoz. I'm a recording artist, producer, and writer based in San Francisco, though I'm originally from San Jose. And I'd like to thank the San Jose Museum of Art and Mosaic Silicon Valley and my fellow panelists, and thank you all for showing up this evening. I'm going to be talking a little bit about my pivoted pandemic practices, that is, how I'm keeping my creative work going during shelter in place. I've spent a good amount of my career working in recording studios, and they are still my favorite places to record. I love working with talented engineers in specially designed rooms with really great gear. I've gotten very spoiled in that way. Because of that, I never bothered to build my own home studio because I always liked going to studios to work. Then shelter in place hit, and I found I had some time to make music, and I had definitely the inclination to make music, but no studios were open. It's definitely when shelter in place first happened. So what I needed to do then was get over myself and my preference for only recording in one way. I know that for many people, especially young people, recording at home is the normal thing. It's the everyday thing. But for me, being a little older, I'm kind of old school. I've always felt like in order to make a proper recording, it's got to be in a studio. And shelter in place has really liberated me from and helped me embrace the limitations of what I have at home, which is just very bare bones recording gear. So what I'd like to do with you now is share a little bit of the music video for my latest single, which was entirely recorded at home remotely. It's a collaboration with a violinist named Matthew Zamella, who's a wonderful player, who's East Bay based, plays for Berkeley Symphony, played with everyone from Beyonce, Jay-Z, Olivia Newton-John, Rihanna, everybody. And he's just a wonderful musician. And I want to play you a bit of the song through the music video. So you'll see the video, and you'll hear the song, and then I'll come back and comment a little bit about how it was made without ever stepping into a studio and without any of us seeing each other in person at all.
All the time.
So that was a couple of minutes of my latest single, All the Time, featuring violinist Matthew Zamella. And like I mentioned, we recorded these tracks entirely in our homes. I recorded my parts on my laptop, sent them over to Matthew, recorded his parts on his computer, sent them back to me. I forwarded those tracks onto a mixing engineer named Willie Samuels, great guy who I've worked with for a long time. He mixed the song, sent it back to me, and I sent the mix on to Chuck Zwicky, a mastering engineer in New York City, another great guy who I've been working with for a while, and he sent the master back to me, and that's what ended up getting released. And we never stepped foot in any recording studios or saw each other in person. Both Willie and Chuck have pro home studios in their homes, but obviously we didn't see each other to get this work done. And overall, I've found while I've been doing this work, recording and releasing singles during shelter in place, I've come to really embrace the limitations that we're finding in this time. I think artists often self-sabotage by saying things like, there's that cliche, I can't work like this. We self-sabotage by going, I don't have this particular tool or this particular resource, so I can't possibly do my work. But you can. So I think for me, what's been really great about this time is making do with what I have and doing the very best. So instead of saying, I can't, or this is not how I do things, instead going, okay, what do I have and what's the best possible work I can do with it? And that's been really great, really freeing, and as I mentioned, liberating and inspiring in a lot of ways. And I hope you enjoyed hearing the song and watching a little bit of the video.
Thank you. Thank you so much, PC. That was fabulous. And by the way, PCMuñoz.com is his site. His single is available on Bandcamp. And I urge you to please check out all the artists here. As you can see, they're all busy creating and making the best of the situation. And also a reminder that after we finish with our artist videos, we will be convening for a Q&A session. So if you have questions, make note of them. And you'll have an opportunity to raise your digital hand to participate in the discussion. So next we have Fanny Ara, who is an absolutely fabulous flamenco dancer, choreographer, and teacher. And she has done something different here. She has actually captured video over the past 90 days and is sharing with us little snippets of how her practice has evolved during this period. So let's take a look. Fanny Ara.
Hi, my name is Fanny Ara. I'm a flamenco dancer, choreographer, and teacher here in the Bay Area. During those incredibly hard times, I realized how lucky I was to be an artist. Dance, once again, has saved me and kept me sane and strong. Through movements, I was able to say out loud anything that was going through my mind and my body. Here are my embodied tales.
more productive, comfortable, not drinking too much, regular exercise at the gym 3 days a week, getting on better with your associate employee contemporaries, at ease, eating well, no more microwave dinners and saturated fats, a patient better driver, a safer car, baby smiling in backseat, sleeping well, no bad dreams. Oil, careful to all animals, never washing spiders done up like oil, keep in contact with old friends, enjoy a drink now and then, will frequently check credit, moral, bank, hole in wall, favors for favors, fond but not in love, charity standing orders, on Sundays leaving old supermarket, no killing moths or putting boiling water on the ants, car wash, also on Sundays. I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hard to this prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough trouble. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
All right, Fanny, Ara, everybody, a spectacular artist. Now we are all going to get back on video. We have Fanny, we have Robin, Mitlalpilli, Ray, PC, please get back on video. And I want to remind you all that you have the option to kind of look down on your pane and you see Q&A. And if you have questions and you would like to submit them, I will do my best to weave them into this discussion. It would be great now that you've seen a little bit about what they've been up to. I'm sure you have questions for the artists. But in the meanwhile, I will get started. So I'd like to begin with the question that we often get asked when it comes to events that are generation defining. People say, where were you when Kennedy was assassinated? So kind of along those lines, most of us didn't expect COVID, and we certainly didn't expect to be hit with it with such severity and to experience shelter in place. But I would love to find out where you were kind of in your life, in your practice, at both the mundane level as well as maybe the more kind of the higher emotional, spiritual level. So we first start with Fanny. Fanny, you need to unmute.
Hello, everyone. Well, first of all, it was such a delight to see everybody talking about their stories and what they've been doing. It's amazing, you guys. I loved it. So I was in Texas, Houston, Texas. I was about to do a show when Trump was on TV and did the state emergency stuff. And I was about to go sound checking 2 hours later to go to my show. And I decided to call them and say, there is no way I'm gonna sound check with you all. I'm sorry, but I'm going back to Oakland right now because I just got so scared to be in quarantine in Houston, Texas. So that was not part of my plan. So I just drove to the airport and took my first flight, and I'm happy we did this. And but yeah, it hit me like this. But again, I mean, like you all said, like we're so lucky, like artists like us, like we're so lucky to be able to travel all the time, right? And then all the travels get canceled, and you're like, what am I doing? But yeah, to respond to your question, I was in Houston, Texas.
Wonderful. PC, you want to weigh in?
Sure. Well, first of all, I had the misfortune
of getting really, really sick at the end of 2019. And so I started the year already really cautious about health stuff, and I was being really careful. I ride the BART every day, and I actually wore a mask before all this. I was wearing a mask in like January because whatever I was that I had in December was so awful, and I was monitoring all this stuff really carefully, and watching out for the ways that in which it would affect me. I think I was at home here in San Francisco when I first heard about shelter in place. I kind of saw it coming, and but I didn't foresee all the different ways it would impact my life in every kind of way. In another discussion that we had in another Mosaic event, I talked a little bit about my 13-year-old son, who I think is going to be talking about this probably, or asked about his life. What was it like to be a middle schooler when this hit? And it's going to be, this particular thing's artistic work for decades, everything that happened in 2020. And that's kind of I kind of see it in that context, in the context of place, historical place.
Okay, so thank you. So kind of moving on beyond that initial impact, with most of us kind of reacted with being just literally knocked off our feet. We didn't have a roadmap or a model to follow. And I'm sure the artists were no different. And in fact, because a lot of your performances and work was canceled or put on hold, I'm sure that was particularly bad for you. But then what about kind of when you finally got on your feet and felt like, okay, this is not going to disappear, we're going to be in this state for the foreseeable future? How did you kind of then pivot to actually doing something? I know, Ray, you mentioned that you immediately started to figure out ways to adapt. Can you talk to us about maybe a couple of things that you did?
Sure. So, I, at the very beginning, I'll just say, I was sort of thrown this shelter in place, and I teach at the university, Santa Clara University, and immediately had to adjust all of my classes to be online, which required essentially creating new classes for a couple of them. And so for those those early stages, I think I was distracted, even though of course I was very sad that all my concerts were canceled. And then once the quarter started, that's when I really was able to think about, okay, what's next? And I really believe strongly that if we allow ourselves as artists to get stuck, that's just the detriment of our art. So finding ways to just adapt and change with the times. Everything else changes with the times, so why can't art? And so that's something that I remind myself. And one of the things I did with you, for example, was connecting musicians together from all over the world, and we're all in the same boat. We're all locked in our homes, doesn't matter where you live, and finding ways for us to make music together and then put it out there for everyone else who is stuck in their home to enjoy. And that's something that I found real great joy in doing, in terms of connecting communities, and essentially the same exact type of impact that music can have, it just happens to be virtually. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's at least that's what I've been doing now. Go ahead.
No, there's one question that came in that's kind of related, and maybe you can answer it, and then we can turn it over to the other panelists. Is, as working artists, we continue to allow arts as well as outside circumstances to influence how we interpret current events and how we choose to use them in art creation, expression. How much do you allow things to invade your previous intentions with your art? And this is from Eileen. And thank you, Eileen, for that question. So who wants to take that?
I could just say really quickly
Yes.
that, you know, I personally try not to dwell too much on the negative, though I know, or in this case, this pandemic, a negative, though in this case, it has in its own way. I think that I'm always trying to rise above those challenges, and rather than let it be my focus, how I overcome it is where it's integrated into my creation.
Mm-hmm. Now, Fanny, I noticed that one of your pieces that we saw in the video was your response to Black Lives Matter. So clearly everything that we saw in your video, we saw was somewhat in response to either the kind of practical needs, for example, the need to record something new or to connect with your students, but also to, other things like your video with the Black Lives Matter. So it sounds like you are very much influenced by what's happening around you and translating that into work.
Yes, I saw this question from Gladys Kamali. Yes. Do you feel that your cultural arts practice lift up the Black Lives Matter movement where the focus is on Black American voices? Well, as an artist, I feel like I don't believe I need to be a certain race to raise my voice and to be completely in sync with what is going on, especially living in Oakland with all the protests that we've been going to. And I do believe that art is the only way, the only universal way, no races attached, no language attached, that you can actually say something and just give your love to people and just talk about something that you obviously I don't know, but I felt like it was very important. I remember when I just put him on and I improvised it, and I could hear all the helicopters, and I could hear so much noise and so much anger and so much, and I just felt the need of like actually saying what is going on. And that's why I started my video by saying that I am so lucky, and all of us here are so lucky to be artists, because we can actually we're able to talk about anything and everything, and always respecting everything and everybody around us. So yes, the whole movement of Black Lives Matters was very important for all of us, and it still is, and we're still on it, and we're still fighting for it. And it was just part of our life. It's part of everybody's life. So
this actually, I was going to ask this question later on, but I think this is a great segue. Pretty much every major movement for social change, especially something that's related to social justice, has had a very core component of arts and artists, whether it's the anthems, it's the logos, it's the flags, it's the chants. The artists have sustained movements and helped kind of propel them forward. And so I was wondering, if maybe PC, because I know a lot of your work has centered around social justice, and I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yes, it's been really interesting watching all of this unfold. As you mentioned, much the years, both writing and in terms of releasing music and performances, has dealt directly with race. I have a touring show called Half Breed that deals with my own experiences as a mixed race person. And my project, Right Starter, which is with a rapper named Dem One, San Jose-based rapper, it's firmly rooted in combating anti-Blackness through art and through education. And by total coincidence, which Usha, is our upcoming project, which is made possible by Mosaic Silicon Valley, is a project called Black Pacific, which explores the connection between Black American and Pacific American experiences and the ways in which our cultures have been subjugated and relegated to otherness and less than. And that project will be ready in early 2021. And like I said, it's just total serendipity that what we've been working on and working towards with that project, many of the issues that are coming up now to the larger public are the exact things that we're dealing with there and that we've dealt with in other Right Starter projects.
Thank you, PC. And Mitlalpilli, I know you are also obviously very engaged in social justice movements, and I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on how you and the Aztec dance community in San Jose has participated in the recent protests and other activities.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in protest for a long time, not just this past most recent issue of the killing of our Black brother here, but us as indigenous people, as Native people of this land, we can definitely relate to the Black Lives Matter movement, and we've have been experiencing, I guess you can say, police brutality or genocide at a larger level for the past 500 years. So we definitely can relate to that. And some of our dancers from our group actually were out here at City Hall and came out to support. I point this way because I'm like 2 blocks away from City Hall here in downtown San Jose. So I can, for a couple of weeks, I was hearing helicopters every night and police sirens and, things like that. But yeah, we definitely support it. And, just everybody in general, everybody wants to live in peace. Everybody wants to be able to prosper. Everybody wants that freedom. So, we support the movement. We support Black Lives Matter. And yeah, our group was out there to dance, out there in the middle of all the protests right there at City Hall. And we've been there for May 1st marches as well for International Workers' Day. So what we do, we also believe that what we do is we are living a protest,
Yes.
Because there might be people, the forces that be out there might not even want us to exist, So anyways, just want to
that's fascinating that your very presence and continued existence is a form of protest. So Mitlan, coming back to you on another issue, your practice is not just performance. It's about community. It's about keeping traditions alive. Involves a lot of ritual and ceremony, which can be very comforting and provide structure and solace, especially to youngsters. And I know that part of your weekly practice is bringing young people together and providing them more than just performance. So during this time that you're not able to do this, how are you still continuing to play that role within your community?
Well, I mean, we definitely keep communication. We find ways to keep communication through social media, through Messenger, through chat groups and stuff like that. Zoom, we're all getting Zoom savvy now. Getting on Zoom and having meetings and communicating. And actually, recently, our case might be a special case, right? Because us as cultural practitioners, we do have ceremony, we do have ritual, as you mentioned. And one of the things that recently freed up here in Santa Clara County was the ability to have religious gatherings with up to 25 people in an outdoor setting. So with that change, we've been able to gather 25 dancers and have our ceremonies in a park, actually. So that's one of the ways that we've been able to little by little reconstruct what we were able to develop. And after 3 months of not dancing or being in the ceremony, we forget little things, little details, but then it comes back to us, that genetic memory, and we're putting the pieces back into place. So but yes, most definitely our community and being together and being in community is real important for our cultural practices. And it's definitely a place where people feel comfortable, feel part of the community, feel that support system, that support network, get that peace of mind when they go and dance and express themselves and sweat, so yeah, definitely it's very, very important. It's essential. I want to put that word out there. It's very essential for those in our community to continue these practices.
Yeah, the whole notion of what is essential has kind of changed, and I think that's a great point. Robin, I see the museum, especially San Jose Museum of Art, I think is really remarkable, I think, compared to potentially other contemporary art museums, in how much it has become a place that the community sees as an asset for everybody, not just for exhibits, not only for the great art that you bring. And I know you do a lot of very progressive, forward-thinking things in terms of the artists that you curate and exhibit, but more importantly for people like us, providing, I believe pretty much every artist on this panel has performed at the museum. And so you open your doors to the community, and we are just one of many partners that does that. How are you keeping that up during these difficult times?
Well, probably the same way everybody else is, with about just as much success. It's funny. When you asked everybody what they were doing when this happened, I was very, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this about myself, but I was very shocked. I found the whole thing and the shelter in place and what we have to say, I was very shocked. And then in the beginning, it was, of course, a very frantic time because we, as a museum, we do a lot of programming and on site, and of course we have to plan for that way in advance. And so, we had like 18 months of work we had to just cancel. And, at first it was like, should we postpone? Should we cancel? Should we, what are we doing here? And so we didn't know any better than anybody else. And so we also were scrambling. So after that initial period of franticness kind of passed, my first thought was to reach out to everybody that I know, everybody in the community, check on them. Are you okay? Is your family okay? Just to reach out. And then that was followed by another really frantic period of activity of trying to connect people with resources, because of course in the arts community, money is always an issue. At a time like this, it's a huge issue. And so people's ability, not just to keep making art, but to literally keep a roof over their head and survive, is huge. And yes, people will get very creative and they'll figure out how to do it. But it's also, I think, very important to make sure that if we're going to pass out a lot of relief packages, that the creative people and the cultural people in our communities get their fair share. And so that was really important to me. So to try and really connect people up with resources to keep up with what was being done, what was changed, what was being offered, where it was coming from, and that kind of thing, and to connect artists to resources and stuff. So we really tried to do that. We've tried to, as PC said, pivot to digital platforms, something we were maybe not super prepared to do, because we are a contemporary art museum. We are a building, we are a place that is our part of our identity, and people come in and they look at art. So making a virtual experience out of that it's an interesting conundrum, actually, and it's given us a chance to really think about that, and to think about the wisdom of trying to replicate an in-person experience online. Maybe that's not quite the way to go, and to really think about digital platforms and virtual experiences and what that really should look like, as opposed to just the thing that you do in the beginning, just to stay connected.
Yeah, that's a wonderful segue to our question that comes from Eileen again, is, and this is open to any of you. So what, in your opinion, has proven to be a successful way to continue to bring in an income during these times when all the regular ways that you're used to have kind of fallen off? And so Mitlalpilli, I'll start with you. I know these are efforts that you've taken on recently.
Yeah, more on a personal level is e-commerce, going online. I've also have my own clothing brand, toshtiwear.com, all cultural wear, to promote our culture. And, I've always had a website, and I've always sold online, but my goal was, and I was used to going out, doing all these events every weekend, that was the main bread and butter for me. But with all the events being shut down for the year, boom, I had to come up with a new plan. I went to survival mode. So good thing I always had my website to fall back on. And, I was really surprised. I just got active on social media and started linking my website on social media, and, online sales increased because a lot of people weren't able to go to the malls and get clothing and shoes and stuff like that. So and people, not only that, but people were scared, you know. So you see the results with Amazon, right? So Amazon was huge. They made so much money. So I think e-commerce in general, there's been a big spike. So any artists that aren't on e-commerce, you know, definitely highly recommend it. You know, and actually our dance group, we're working on building our online school as well, so people can practice dancing from home, watch the videos and practice at home. So
No,
that's definitely a huge way to sort of survive in this situation.
that's great that it's working out well for you, and I'm glad to hear that the community is supporting you through e-commerce. Now, Fanny and Ray, I know Ray, you mentioned that, you know, teaching flute over you know, digitally is really not very satisfying, and I imagine for Fanny, who has many students and conducts workshops and so on, how has that worked out so far? I mean, do you still find your students seek you out? Are you able to continue that? How is that working out?
So as soon as this whole thing started, I asked my student if they wanted to continue their regular classes. So I would like send them videos the day of the classes, because I cannot do any Zoom class. I have no idea how people do this. If I cannot, you know, be there with them and correct them and stuff like that, I don't see the point at all. So I decided to do some challenges for them every week and stuff like that. But what I ended up doing that took all my time was one-on-one online classes. So what I'm doing is I'm giving privates. And so I'm asking the people that call me, I'm asking what they want. And usually I was lucky because, and I am a dancer a teacher that teaches mostly out of America. So I was able to keep that relationship with the whole world and give privates to people that live all over the world. And they all ask me for choreographies. So I actually had a lot of work to do. Yeah. But it was an amazing experience because they would send me a music, send me a story, and it was, we just shared so many things together. And I had a blast doing this, really. So yeah, I didn't want to do the whole Zoom class.
Yeah, that's hard.
Instagram live, and I just don't see the point.
Yeah.
I mean, dancing.
Yeah. So Ray, how about you? How is the flute lessons for you? I know you also are offer a lot of solo instruction.
Yes, so I do teach flute privately, and I have a pretty small studio, and all of maybe one of them decided not to participate in Zoom classes, but otherwise I'm still teaching my private students, and that is a major source of my regular income. But I'm also incredibly grateful and fortunate to have a job at the university because especially during that initial period, I had a steady salary coming in and busy work that I could be doing. And now that the summer is coming around, that's where I'm starting to kind of count my dollars and see, you know, how am I going to survive the rest of the summer. But you know, sort of like what I said about myself and being resilient, I think that a lot of organizations and concert presenters are showcasing their personal resilience by finding ways to produce their shows online. And so I do have quite a few virtual engagements similar to this, but where I'll be performing, where I am being paid. And so I think that what's happening here is that artists and art groups were adapting, just like everyone else is being forced to. And so even though it might take time, and I think it was PC who said, you know, we're our own enemy by saying we can't do things the way unless it's the way we want it. You know, with time, this will become a part of our identities as artists, and the economy will sort of settle, I think.
So we have, thank you, Ray. We have a question from Akihua about, we would love to see a collaboration between all the artists on this panel. How do you see this happening? And I'm going to take that on because all the artists over here are Mosaic fellows, in addition to Ray being our music director. And what the fellowship does is it's basically a group of very accomplished, multicultural, multidisciplinary artists who have a proven track record of collaborating across cultural boundaries. And you can see, these are all artists who are committed to that cause. And then the Mosaic Silicon Valley, we have the funding from Knight Foundation to grant people and grant our artists, or rather commission new works with our fellows. So what you will see, in fact, we just announced five such grants, including PC and Dimon, who are going to be working on a project. But the idea is, again, to bring these artists together to collaborate and co-create over a period of time, not just kind of a very superficial sharing of stage, but actually understanding each other's practice and figuring out a way to come together and bring out the best in both. So we have those projects that we've just announced, and you will continue to see us invest in our artists, especially our Mosaic Fellows. So I hope that answers your question. I want to go, I know that we are almost out of time, but the last question I think will cover a lot of the pending questions in the Q&A panel. So, I believe personally, at least for me, this COVID has really changed the way I perceive the arts. I perceive my work. I perceive what is important and essential. I mean, for a few days over there, I think the grocery worker in my mind and the doctor and the nurses were the only people I considered essential, right? Not the jet-setting kind of executive who adds to the GDP and creates jobs necessarily. So I think that how has COVID and this whole experience of sheltering in place, how has that caused you to, has it caused you to change how you view your art, its purpose? And this part two of that question is, will you ever go back the way things were, or are you now going to kind of take this learning both at a higher emotional, spiritual level, as well as the mundane level about what works and what doesn't, and how are you going to move forward? So I want everybody to weigh in, and I'm going to start with PC.
It's a really good question. And I mean, to be totally candid and honest, I'm sort of perversely grateful that now that we're in this space where the kinds of things that I've covered a lot in my work and in other projects going forward, I'll have a lot less people going, why are you always talking about that stuff? And now it's like right in the front, and it's what everyone is talking about. It's become so much more commonplace, and like I said, to be honest, I'm grateful for that, and mildly encouraged, because I think, and in that sense, I'm going to continue the work that I've always done, exploring these themes, and know now that the people that have in the past, a question like, why is that always what you steer your stuff to? Why is that the stance, or why is that the subject? I'm now, you can do this work, and people are having or at least trying to understand where it comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We go with Ray.
I think that as I kind of said previously, we're adapting, and it's becoming a part of our lives and our economy as artists. I see myself personally eager to go back to being able to perform live, mm-hmm. but also having this new way of being an artist mm-hmm. in my back pocket to use when it's either appropriate or necessary again, or all of the above. One thing I would say is that all of this reminded me about how art can help people. And a lot of my work does have an element of social justice in it. But this pandemic has allowed me to really think about where my efforts can be impactful. For example, PC and I are starting a brand new project that will be giving voices to homeless women. And when we're all stuck at home, it's almost easier for us to forget that there are people who don't have homes, who cannot shelter in place, safely. And so finding an artistic way to give a voice to the women in our community, like here in San Jose. Anyway, I could talk forever about that, but my point is that as an artist, my priorities are changing to wanting to help more people with my art and finding a way for my art to be that kind of vehicle.
Thank you. Mitlalpilli?
Yeah, thank you, Usha. Yeah, just to piggyback on that, there's pros and cons to everything, every situation, and we try to, the ones that are going to be most successful are the ones that are going to be able to adapt. So there's certain aspects of the situation that we're in that I'm enjoying, being home and not having to travel, and really being able to work on the projects that I have here at home and building up my e-commerce website, for example. That's always been one of my goals, and also to develop our Aztec dance group website. We definitely want to have a larger reach. And as we're building up our website and adding content, more and more people are asking. So we're able to teach people that are outside of our local community, being able to reach people that are in other states or even in other countries. So that's one thing that we're able to do. So when everything hopefully does go back to normal, or whatever that means, we're able to meet in person and travel and go places and stuff like that, then we're going to be twice as strong. Just taking full advantage of the situation that we're in here.
Yep. Thank you, Fanny. So, the question, are you on mute now? Yeah, how are you going to change? How has COVID impacted you, and how would it kind of permanently change the way you approach your art when we come through this?
It's not gonna. I'm already performing live right now in San Francisco with my band. I can't wait to go back to normal. I am actually also seeing live some students, and it's just, but also this whole COVID stuff, I actually also fell in love, and I'm getting married in a week. So
congratulations.
I'm not having this whole depression thing going on, because I've been too busy being in love and I was very lucky to have a studio too, which I know not many people were having a studio to dance at. But thank you. But it's just, I'm already back to normal, and actually COVID helped me because I traveled so much. Now I had to be home, and I fell even more in love with the men I'm with, that we even decided to get married during COVID. So that's already life.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have found a way to perform. And like Ray was saying, music is healing, dance is healing, any type of art heals people. And we did our first live performance Saturday in the Golden Gate Park.
Yeah, we saw that.
It was amazing, magical, and you could tell that people are so eager.
Yeah.
And I feel the only thing good about COVID and this whole thing is that people are actually understanding how much they need artists in life.
Absence makes the heart longer.
They understood that. Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to be much more in demand, and we can share our joy and love for what we do, because I think that we're all artists because we like to give so much to everybody all the time, and we give 100%. And now I think they're going to be able to see through that.
Well, wonderful, and congratulations. I mean, that's fabulous. We heard this fresh from Fanny, hot off the press. Thank you, Fanny. Wishing you all the best, and thank you to all of our panelists. I think, like Robin mentioned, at the very beginning, we have an embarrassment of riches. I think there's very few places in the world you can see this American mosaic of artists come together, and you can tell from just the short experience with them, just the depth of talent and practice and goodwill towards each other. And I want to remind us all, like, this is what American art is. Not what, it's not that American art is one thing and not the other. All of this is American art. And we at Mosaic are committed to making sure that people redefine in their minds what it means to be an American, what American art, what is. And, so hopefully small steps like these will help us advance things. I want to mention that every one of the artists here has a website, and the final credit slide will include their webpage. Please take a minute to check them out, follow them on Facebook. We also are going to be at a local festival in Oakland called the Diasporas Festival, and you can check that out on our webpage. I'm going to look up the link right now and see. I'm going to actually put this on our chat window. So please check this out. It's happening. Let me put this before I forget. This is happening tomorrow and the day after, and Mosaic Silicon Valley will be again bringing a diverse array of artists, dancers, musicians, including Ray, to the program. So thank you to San Jose Museum of Art, as always, for helping us bring together people under these wonderful circumstances that we have right now. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, panelists, and we will be back with more programming sometime before too long. So follow us on Facebook, check out our web pages. Oh, before I forget, thank you to Tasi Alabastro, who is the puppet master behind the scenes, who's made this possible, because we're all new to this. So without Tasi, we wouldn't have this program, and it wouldn't go as smoothly as it has. And we will, and Frederick at the museum, who stepped in to do a lot of last minute kind of bubblegum and baleen wire to get things done. So thank you and have a great evening. Bye-bye. All right.